Morning, everybody. David Shapiro here with some more AutoMuse work. So today we are going to focus on generative adversarial networks, specifically for generating synopsis, because that's where a story starts. You need something to go off of. And so a synopsis is the kernel. It is the seed of a story. It is a premise. It is a story premise or a set of ideas that can be expanded upon. Whether or not you're plotting or pantsing, you still need an idea to start from. And so this is where all generative fiction, artificially intelligent AI fiction is going to start, is with some kind of premise. So what I'm doing is I'm crippling this this synopsis that's supposed to be grade 1. So what I'm doing is I'm removing all names from it, because one thing that I noticed that GPT-3 does is sometimes when it generates garbage, it has no names. So I'm just going to actually do this and find and replace all instances of Kwanzaa with nothing. And so that way it has an example of what is an actual garbage synopsis. There we go. Word. Sorry about that. All right. So then what we're going to do is we're going to find and replace any cases of too many spaces. And we'll just replace it with 1. There we go. Okay. So in this case, we're going to also remove, because one thing that I found that it does is the vicious fighter finally defeats the fighter, is it will give you very generic boilerplate stuff. So the whole reason is this is now worse because, like, yes, it's a story, but there's no names. Here, let's take out an aging master. So we'll just say, yep. There we go. Cool. So now we've got this kind of generic boilerplate story that has no names, no locations. So this is a grade 1. It is a garbage. And then we have this other one that is long. It's got specific years and locations. It's got names. We need to remove end because I don't like it when it puts that in there. Okay. And then we've got a middle of the road one, which does have names and places, and it's got, it's good. But what we really are looking for is something that is solid. And so to give a little bit of background, I mentioned generative adversarial networks. So what I was working on was a function here in the generate synopsis. So first I've got the generate many, which this is what I showed before, which is if you just want to spam out and generate a whole bunch of data, here you go. This is how to do it. But what I'm going to do is do let's see. We'll do Synopsis GAN. And then I think we probably don't need any variables to go in with that. So first, I think we need to separate out the variables because we want to generate multiple synopsis with the same variables. So here we'll do let's see, pick variables. And so then we'll separate this out. And this is, yeah. So we'll copy this up here, pick random variables, and then we will just return genre, tone, character, pace, storyline, style, setting, and time period. Okay, so then we'll say these equal pick variables. Ta-da. Okay, so now we've separated out the variables, so we can copy this and just grab it once for when we do the GAN. So we're gonna pick all of our variables so that we can do it multiple times, and then we'll say while true, so that we'll get caught in an infinite loop. And basically, what we're going to be looking for is we're going to continue generating synopses until we get a rank 5 synopses. Okay, so with that said, we will do. Actually, generate synopsis, we should have, rather than pick the variables, we should just accept them here. And then when we need them, we will do it this way. There you go. That's more appropriate. So you're going to ask it to generate a synopsis with a given set of variables. There you go. Print the terms. Probably don't. Yeah, that's fine. We can keep that there. Yes. Okay. And so that does a little bit of cleanup. And then let's see, what's the temperature? The temperature is at 1.1. So you want to generate fiction with a high temperature because you'll get a lot more variation that way. Now, part of the problem though is that you get higher variation. So sometimes it'll generate a short garbage synopsis, sometimes it'll generate a long one, sometimes it'll just write the story. So you want to kind of hone in on the what you want exactly. Okay, so while true, synopsis equals, or let's see, we'll say, oh yeah, so we'll say synopsis equals generate synopsis, so we'll just copy this. All right, so we'll get a synopsis, but then we also want to rank the synopsis. So let's split this out as its own function. So def, and we'll say grade synopsis. So then we'll say, pass me the synopsis. And synopsis is one of those words that when you say it too many times, it feels like it loses all meaning. Also, the camera looks like it's pointing up. That looks a little bit better. Okay. All right, so the first thing we do is prompt equals open file, and it's called prompt grade.text. And then synopsis is the story. Okay. So we'll do dot replace story with the synopsis. And then we'll do grade equals GPT-3 completion prompt. And in this case, we actually want to change the temp to 0 because then you want it to be deterministic in terms of what it spits out. And this reliably generates just a where am I going? Reliably generates just the grade. Okay, so then we'll say let's see, while true synopsis. Oh yeah, so that's fine. And then we'll return the grade. So the grade should be a string. Like, let's see, whoops, 1 or 3 or whatever. Okay, so then we'll say grade equals grade synopsis, and we'll pass it the synopsis that it just generated. So what we're doing is we're generating the variables once, right? And then we will generate the synopsis. Oh, we should probably print out the synopsis too, because here, let's remove this. We'll print out the terms only once, so that's fine. And then we will we'll print out the synopsis. So copy that, do synopsis, and then we'll print grade. Let's add a little bit of dressing. So do grade. So that way we get the synopsis and the grade. And then if grade equals 5, so this is what we're looking for. We're looking for a grade 5 synopsis. We'll say, we'll just probably save it and print it out, or save it. Yeah, just save it. Save unique ID and file name. Save file, file name, synopsis. And then we'll do exit. Exit, I can type, I promise, with code 0. So code 0 is like the standard exit, which is the thing succeeded. Okay, so then we'll call seed only once, and then we'll do Synopsis GAN. And let's see if it works. So then we'll do CD synopsis generator. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Properties 30, that's too big. Okay, and so then we'll do Python generate synopsis. All right. And there's all kinds of things that you can do to improve this. So we've got this. Let's see what happens. So it's generating a synopsis in the background right now. Let's see. Oh, it's too long. You requested 5,300 tokens, 2,300 in your prompt, and 3,000 in the whatchamajig. Okay. So we need to shorten our window, which is this right here. So let's take this down to 1,000. Let's try that again. A psychological thriller in Scandinavia in the early classical. It's noisy. It's culturally diverse. Okay, so this is a grade 4. Yeah, so you see here it generated one where it just says the novel begins with our protagonist, a young woman. It doesn't give her a name. So yeah, we don't like that one because that is no good. Let's see. Synopsis, Karen is a young woman of color living in Scandinavia. Okay, that's a little bit better. Still, it's not that long, so let's generate another one. And so the idea here is that you have a generator and a discriminator. So the generator is trying to come up with story ideas, and then the discriminator is saying, nah, that's not quite good enough. And then when you look at, let's see, why is this in 2? Interesting. So ideally, you will get. We'll see. We'll let it go until it spits out one that it says is a grade 5. So we'll see what happens. Grade 4. So it's reliably generating grade 4. And some of these look like they're probably good. So I might need to go back and do some work on the actual on the grading thing. But so here's the idea: is with a generator and discriminator, they're both competing against each other. So the generator is trying to get better at generating whatever it's trying to do, and the discriminator is also trying to get better. And so how do you do that, right? How do you have a discriminator that gets better at discriminating versus a generator that gets better at generating? Because if the discriminator is just giving a rank, how does it know that it's giving a good rank? That I'm not sure how to do yet. But we'll see. We'll let this go until it gives us a rank 5. I'll pause this and let it go until we're done, because I have no idea how long it's going to take, and then we'll evaluate what it shows and why. Okay, looking at some of these, I think I've probably got to do some work on my discriminator, because these actually look pretty good. In the town of Stromstad, Sweden. So one, it immediately establishes the setting. Immigrant families from all over the world have settled. The town is a melting pot of cultures and traditions. The residents are proud of their diversity. However, there is one family that is not like the others. The Kovic family are Romani, gypsies. Probably shouldn't have used gypsies. That is no longer in vogue. You're supposed to say, well, I guess it said Roma or Romani. They've been living on the outskirts of Stromstad for generations. They're a tight-knit community. They stick to their own. The residents view the Kovics as dirty and dangerous. So this is all good. She goes to school, makes friends, so it's a little girl. However, the residents of Stromstad still view her as an outsider. Eva is sure that she has just run away again, but Jacob doesn't come home after a few days. Eva starts to worry. Her own culture, she also starts to understand the prejudice that the Kovics face. Okay, this is great. This is a great coming of age. And and they're slowly starting to accept them. Okay, so I'm going to grab this as a rank 5 because this is definitely a good one. It is good enough. Okay. The only thing missing is the time period. So in the town of Stromstad, Sweden, the year was supposed to be, let's see if we scroll up, psychological thriller, Scandinavia, early classical. I kind of ignored that. So we'll say like, I guess this could take place at any time period, but having a definitive time period is required for a story to be good because that's part of setting. So there's 3 primary ingredients to any story. It's like 3 legs of a stool. So you need setting, plot, and character. Setting is composed of location or locations. It also has to have culture, time period, language, religion, whatever's going on, whatever's socially going on. So it talks about the setting really well. It gives you the name, it gives you that, but we don't have a time period. And so this could be in, let's say, the 1970s. Settled during the 1970s. So we'll make this just a little bit better because the time period gives you some anchoring. And of course, this story could be any time, right? And yeah, is not as welcoming as she thought. This is good. We can remove the ending because I've got that figured out. So we got nice and short, and then we've got one that is rock solid, robust. And then we've got one. This one is actually okay. So what I'll do is I'll cripple this one a little bit more. Yeah, I wonder if it was confused because this one is like it is complete. So let's grab. Yeah, this one is low quality because it has no, but it gave it a 4, right? So I'll copy that as a 1. And then so we got a 5. So let's find something that I feel like is truly a 3. Tormented by inner demons. So this one's interesting because it's pretty long. So anyways, what you would do is you would accumulate a bunch of these and grade them and fine tune a model that is going to generate based on the inputs. So what I'll need to do is record the inputs, and there's all kinds of different ways to record the inputs. So let me actually take a note of this. So let's see, overall goal, to-do, sources, process. Let's see, input formats. So one input format is just list of appeal terms, which is what we're doing now. Another thing would be a chat log. So like between an author and a reader, or a librarian and a patron. And so, because one way that you find books is that you have a conversation, right? And so by having training data where you have a conversation with someone where it's like, what kind of story do you want to read? Let me ask you all kinds of things about a story that you want to read. And that's called a reference interview. Let's see, AKA reference interview. And GPT-3 knows how to do a reference interview. So list of appeal terms, a reference interview. Let's see, something that's like, I want a book that ... where you just kind of stream of consciousness, that sort of thing. And so the idea here is that you train it to, here we go, list of comp titles. There we go. Okay, so the idea is that you train it on a variety of input formats, but what it always does is it always outputs a synopsis, a good plot synopsis. And so you want it to conform to certain standards, right? So process, and then we'll do, I need to clean up this document, but the discriminator for Synopsis GAN, So let's see. Uh, um, must have all three pillars. Um, plot, character, setting. Let's see. All characters must be named. Um, setting must be named, dated, and described, etc. And then the plot needs clear beginning, middle, and end with narrative progression and or character arcs. Actually, I guess the character arcs, all characters must be named and have arcs. Okay, so basically you're kind of establishing the criteria of by which you're going to measure the synopsis that are generated. Also, let me do a quick time check. Okay, we're already at 21 minutes. So I might call it here because y'all seem to like these shorter videos where they're around 20 to 30 minutes. Some people really like ones that are longer. But anyways, so I did do a fine-tuned model. So let me just go ahead and pause and show you the fine-tuned model that I did. Audio transcribe? Oh, that's the new engine. I'm like, huh? Okay, cool. So that must be the Whisper engine. All right, so synopsis. So let's see. I want a story like Harry Potter, but much darker and in space. So we'll do like epic space opera, dark and violent. Let's see, romantic subplot. Okay, and so then we do synopsis, and this is my first fine tuning experiment with this. We'll turn the temperature up, and we'll turn that up to 1,000. Now let's see what it does. Not bad. Here we go. So the fine tuning training data for this is right here, synopsis.jsonl. So let me show you how this data looks. So, and you're welcome to use this. Just be careful because it costs about $30 to fine tune this one. So the input it's just a brief description with then a list of appeal terms and then synopsis. It follows that same format, and then the completion is a synopsis. So the idea here, though, is rather than humans go in and rate the synopsis based on the input, I want to have that GAN where you have several input formats, and then it generates a good synopsis. But then we also have, so that will learn to get better, but then the discriminator gets better, right? So how do we do that? I haven't quite figured that out, because if you have two engines that are feeding off of each other and competing, they're both trying to get better over time. Ideally, this should ultimately create really robust, great plot synopses. And so we'll see about how to do that. But let's see what this generated. Okay, so the story begins in a dark, gritty, alternate universe. The main character, a young woman named Delphine, is a kicked-around misfit. She's been raised by a single mother who's never seemed to care about her, and she's constantly picked on by her classmates. Wow, that's an awful life. Delphine's only solace is her daydreams, which she imagines as grand adventures in alternate universes. One day, Delphine's dreams come to life when she's suddenly transported to another world. This other world is a magical place full of amazing creatures and adventures. She quickly makes friends with a group of other young people who have also been transported to this world. Okay, so this is like a middle grade portal fantasy, which I said Harry Potter, so there you have it. The Harry Potter is middle grade. Together, they begin to explore their new surroundings and try and figure out how they got there. As they investigate, they discover that they're not alone. There are others in this who have been brought here before them, including some people who are now evil. Cool. Could it be the plot? It turns out that this other world is a place where people's deepest desires and fantasies come true. The problem is that not everyone wants the same thing, so conflicts begin to arise. This is pretty cool. Delphine and her friends must band together to try and stop the fighting to find a way back to their own world. This kind of reminds me of Sucker Punch. As the story progresses, it becomes clear that this other world is not a place where everyone can stay happy. There is the moral, is that if you live in a world of fantasy. So this is the theme. This is one thing that I found is that GPT-3 is actually really good at theme if you don't tell it to. So theme, the theme is really confusing, especially to people who are not familiar with story structure. The rule of thumb for theme is that it is a universal truth. And so a universal truth is something that is true about the human condition that is explored via story. Now, myths and parables use magic or technology, fantasy elements, to remove human constraints to then explore that universal truth. And so the universal truth here is that, okay, imagine that you're transported to a world where everyone gets what they want, but conflict still happens. So the moral here, the universal truth, the theme, is that you can't just be handed what you want. Life isn't that easy. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. As the story progresses, it becomes clear that the world is not a place where everyone can stay happy. Those who want something that others don't must choose sides, and the lines are quickly drawn. Yes, that is human nature, is I want this, and it's mutually exclusive with what you want, so let's fight over it. Sounds like politics. In which Delphine and her friends rediscover politics. Okay. Delphine and her friends find themselves in the middle of a war that they never wanted. So this is supposed to be a dreamland, but they end up in a war. On one side is a group of people who want to keep the world as it is, where everyone's dreams come true. On the other is ones who want to change it so that only the right kind of dreams can stay. Censorship. Another moral theme has emerged. Delphine and her friends are caught in the middle, and they must find a way to stop the fighting before it's too late. The war heats up, and Delphine and her friends are in the middle of the bloodshed. They find themselves facing off against the former friends and allies, and it becomes clear that there's no going back. Delphine and her friends find a way to stop the fighting, but at great cost. They're the only ones who escape the other world, and they're left with the knowledge that their friends and loved ones are now dead. That sucks. Delphine is left with a deep sense of loss and grief, but she also gains a new appreciation for the simple day-to-day things in life. So she has learned to stop daydreaming. Ending. Delphine's story ends with her returning to normal life. She's changed by her experience in the other world, and now she's a more thoughtful and considerate person. She's also gained new respect for the people around her, even though she didn't used to like. Delphine eventually finds love and starts a family of her own. She still daydreams from time to time, but she knows that they're just that. It's daydreams. She's content with her life. And then it repeats the ending several times. So this is where, with fine-tuning data, you need even more samples than what I gave it. Oh, actually, no. What it did, I forgot to put in the stop sequence. Yes. Actually, no. See, that would have... Interesting. Anyways, so there is a stop sequence. End, right? So it would have stopped here. So this... Oops. Let's see, no, ending, the first ending. So this is where it should have stopped. This would be a satisfying conclusion. Deep sense of loss and grief, but she also gains a new appreciation for the simple day-to-day things in life. So that is, she emerges from the underworld as a changed person. Okay, and I noticed the little speech-to-text thing here. So I'm going to give that a try real quick. But anyways, so yeah, epic space opera, dark and violent, romantic subplot. So it didn't get the romantic subplot. Again, this is a work in progress. And it also only gave me one named character. So we'll give this a solid 3 or 4 out of 5. If this was good, it got the epicness, it got the dark and violent, it missed the romantic subplot, and it didn't give me too much about the setting. Right, it gave me her backstory. That's good, but we need other characters. Now, that being said, I'm not too worried about that because part of the process of what I'm working on with AutoMuse is you take a premise and you expand it. And so one thing that you can do is you can just say, like, given the following premise. Here, let me show you. This is something that I was working on. So let's see. Given the following plot synopsis. Brainstorm the cast of characters. Describe each character vividly. Let's see. Vivid depiction of characters. And so then you just say, let it go. Delphine. Hey, this is great. Delphine's mother. So even here, it doesn't give them names. which is really infuriating. I worked so long to try and get it to do it, to give us names. I did succeed in the plotter method. And basically all you say is like, describe each character, I think if you add invent names for them, I think that's all you need to do. So then we'll do Delphine, Delphine's mother. Nah, it didn't work. Anyways, so that's another open problem. Is it's good at like just taking the story and running with it, but coming up with character names for whatever reason, and place names, if it's not in the initial data, it's garbage. And it can't do it. So that's why fine tuning is necessary. Anyways, here, let's see if this works. Let's see. Start recording. Okay, can you use this? Hi. So I'm testing the new text to speech beta. Okay. Hey, look at that. Uses input. Cool. All right. So now Whisper is embedded in GPT-3. All right. This went on way longer than I meant to. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and consider supporting me on Patreon. Have a good one.